Welcome everybody to episode 16 of our web series. We are, as you can tell from the title as you came in, rebranding our name, and we are going to talk a lot about why we're doing that today. So, welcome everybody to Agentic SaaS Talks. Like I said, for the last 16 episodes, the series has been known as SaaS Monday, live on Friday, and it's been a deep dive with AWS and some truly amazing founders and builders on how to build complex, interesting, fun, cutting-edge SaaS solutions. Half of those, if not more, have been AI-based solutions, and so building an AI solution inside of a SaaS architecture has been a core crux of some of the things that we've been doing. But that's even evolving as everything is these days, as fast as the industry has ever evolved before. And so now we're talking about agentic systems and agentic AI. And it's far more than just adding an LLM to your existing SaaS, although that's kind of the first step of it. And so I'm joined today by Kamal, CEO of Orchestration, one of the godfathers of cloud systems, having started at AWS before it was called AWS, and has built a lot of things and seen a lot of the evolutions. And so we're going to be leading on Kamal to kind of talk, where we've been and where we're going, and why Agentic SaaS matters. And Erman, who is a longtime cloud solution architect who's built and helped build countless systems and across countless companies, doing some really fun, interesting things, and obviously all things SaaS. And he's now out there from an AWS perspective, working with a bunch of really cool companies as they start to migrate from SaaS to AI-based SaaS to now agentic SaaS. And so I think that's the right spot to dive in. And so, Erwin, if you wouldn't mind kind of jumping in here and saying, hey, can you explain, when we say agentic SaaS, what do we mean and why does it matter?
So when we actually, good question. First of all, so hello to everyone, right? It's nice to be here. Uh, let me do a step back, right? So when we talk about agents and SaaS and AI, I remember 1 year ago approximately, right? I was on one meetup in Munich, and meetup was actually, it was branded as a SaaS Munich. It's a great meetup with excellent speakers. Even better pizzas, so I go for pizza, but I also learn something. So that's actually my goal. But every time, and then I remember that. So it was a summer last year. A person brought up a slide saying, AI will kill SaaS, and I was thinking at that time, come on, right? So SaaS is a delivery model, and AI is just a technology, right? Worse come to worse, what will happen is we SaaS people will integrate yet another AI chatbot in our SaaS application, and everything will go fine, right? So, and that was my state of mind last year, and boy, I was wrong, right? So, and then we started actually getting something which is actually called agents. We started getting MCP with integration. This year, I see, because I work very closely with startups, every workload is actually is being branded somehow like agentic. So I with AI agents, and we will later define what an AI agent is and what components are. But agent is actually something that can actually reason and can take the actions and interact with the environment on its own. This with agents actually have influenced that mind shift with me and with other SaaS experts, saying, okay, this is way bigger, right? This is way bigger. Um, so in couple of aspects. First of all, when you look at the agent is a piece of software running somewhere very similar to SaaS. You still need to take care of tenant isolation and things like that. But this agent this is actually one way to serve your customers through only agents, but you have other ways, like to onboard the agents, to support your kind of workflows, to support your backend, or to kind of do it differently, to kind of interact your SaaS and combine it with agents from other providers, right? And there is no one single at least I'm not aware of one single definition of agentic SaaS. But what I see more and more, right, that every single SaaS startup is going in a direction of, okay, we need agents. We need agents to automate our workflows. We need agents to build to interact with customers. We need agents to integrate with the tools that are outside of our scope, right? And this whole shift, and I think it's here to stay, also kind of pushed us as a team here at SaaS Mondays in a direction of saying, okay, SaaS is changing, it's evolving, it's becoming something bigger, something greater. So let's also go in a direction of changing the branding towards SaaS, agentic SaaS talks, right? Feel free to correct me, Kamal, because you
Yeah,
also.
no, I think that's an interesting point, right? I think you started uh, kind of you circle around, but then created a, I guess, some sort of dispute, or I get with this. You started with the initial statement saying that look, SaaS is a distribution model or delivery model,
Yeah.
and you ended up with a kind of mixing SaaS with the agentic experiences. I think I like to separate it. How about that? And I think I will go back to your initial thought, that what you were saying, which is, you know, a, first of all, agent is nothing but a autonomous software, or software that can reason or plan and execute things on behalf and achieve a certain goal, right? But and we hopefully we all agree on that. But going past that, I think there are, when we talk about SaaS, there are two aspects of SaaS. I think when people talk about SaaS, there is one is SaaS as what you were talking as a delivery model, and one SaaS as a SaaS application. And when we say SaaS as an application, I think people refer to that static workflows of the past. I think the same way the traditional software, we talk about, hey, how traditional software evolved into next generation agentic software, right? Same way we should talk about, okay, SaaS application with static workflows got changed into more dynamic, like goal driven, right? And so uh, and no longer is the world where your businesses, or you're implementing the business workflow as static workflows, but you're implementing it as a combination of some deterministic or determinism and some non-deterministic using agentic, to depending upon the goal and the task, and you're stitching things together. And I think that's what I correlate with the prior world of SaaS application with the newer world of agentic SaaS application. But I would fundamentally differentiate that
Mm-hmm.
with the SaaS distribution. The SaaS distribution hasn't changed. In fact, the agents are going to add more requirements to the SaaS distribution. So I think there's when we talk about SaaS, we're talking about two things. One is, SaaS is an application which can mean static workflows and how that has evolved, and it can also, and SaaS also means the SaaS as a distribution, and how that is going to change, or new requirements needs to be added. But that SaaS as a distribution or delivery model is not going away. I'd love to get your thoughts. What do you think?
Definitely, Mike. Let me just jump in, right? To so basically, you have, and you said that, right? You have two different ways of delivering agentic SaaS, right? So one is we have our standard SaaS product, and then we either change a facade, and this is kind of agentic facade. It's called according to AWS SaaS Factory, or you can embed agents into to automate your workflow, and this is embedded agents. But so this is actually one delivery model. Like let's kind of make our SaaS smarter. There is another delivery model which says, okay, we will deliver only agents, and then we are actually agents provider, right? So how I envision the future is actually that more and more companies, or more and more software companies, will be delivering only agents, and that agents will be productized agent, and that agent will be somewhere on the marketplace, and then I can take it from the shelf, and then also bind it either with my other SaaS or with other agents and build a workflow, right? So kind of that basically I will decompose my SaaS and all the functionalities and build it again, the way how it fits, right? I didn't want to come to
100%.
this point very so early in the discussion, but I,
100%, I agree with you. And just to add on that, I would say that Previously, it was called software as a service as a delivery model.
Yeah.
Now it has become agent as a service delivery model. But the agent as a service delivery model is not taking away anything from the software as a delivery model. It is adding new requirements and how to put guardrails and how these agents will talk to each other and route to each other, and how the outcome-based pricing will work. So it is, and the bar of the experience that SaaS offered is even higher, because now you have to bring personalization into the equation. So agent as a service is not fundamentally replacing SaaS as a delivery model. It's actually it's a evolving SaaS into a agent as a service distribution model. But I think we should distinguish that completely from when we talk about SaaS applications. I think people refer to as static workflows, and I do agree that that is evolving. That is also evolving, but evolving in interesting ways. Where we saw the announcement with OpenAI, we see N8N and think other platforms like that, where the world seems to be going is, hey, you need business workflows, and there will be some determinism in that, and there will be certain parts of that which will be non-deterministic, and agents will come into the play, and they will naturally hook up into this multi-step business workflows where things can better be done with these autonomous systems or agents, and they will replace the part of the workflows with those non-determinism but goal-driven things, and providing better experiences, providing better goals and outcomes as opposed to the previous world.
Yeah.
So now if I can just jump in real quick and say, we did start off with a promise to the audience that we were going to start with some of the basics, and I'm not sure we have finished. And so as it relates to Agentic SaaS, so the things I'm hearing from you gentlemen, the difference between a SaaS software, which is kind of predeterministic a path. So something's going to be A or B or A, B or C, but there's a predefined solution moving forward, and a customer or an event is going to trigger the next thing that happens. Now, with an agentic system, we have the ability for a system to act autonomously. And so kind of the first thing about the agentic system is there's going to be some kind of autonomous action allowed. The second thing I'm hearing from you guys is it's going to collaborate intelligently. So there's going to be collaboration between agents and systems between each other. And then there's a third one that I see some people out there kind of talking about, but I don't know how much I believe it's true yet, but it definitely is possible, which is there's also an understanding of continuous improvement. And so that the agent is going to get better the longer it sits out there. And one of the best examples of that anyone can experience today is the more you work with ChatGPT, the more it seems to learn your style, and the better, the 15th email it writes for you is a lot better than the first email it wrote for you. And it's not that it's doing anything different. It's just learning from you, and it's improving its interactions with the user. And so there is some level of continuous improvement. And so from the highest level conversation, so if we're only shipping agents, what is an agentic system? The understanding would be there's ability to act autonomously, not just predetermined, collaborates intelligently, and then continuously improves. Do you guys kind of agree with those three? And am I missing something?
Yeah.
I
just go come on, sorry.
No, I agree. I was just going to add that at least in the last 2 years, it'll be good to call out that what has also changed is that what we saw in the first year or so was more of reactive assistance, where people were putting the chat GPT style interface in front of their applications. I think what we are starting to see now is AI native autonomous system who can fundamentally from the ground up can understand, decide, and act with minimal oversight, right? And I think that is a new evolution, a new pattern into building what we used to call agents. So agents are no longer just a new interface. Agents have become much more than that, and they are the new intelligent autonomous system, to your point. And it's clear to call out the differences, like how from the overall picture perspective, and why they and those are the characteristics that makes agent fundamentally different from the traditional software.
Love it. Aaron?
Maybe definition from my side, right? I will just add on one thing, right, on what you already said, right? So we all agree that AI agent is basically a software system that can interact with its environment, right? That's important, but it can also reason, plan, and act, right? So it can create self-directed tasks. So how does it do it, right? So if you have an agent obviously has in a background some kind of LLM, large language model. But if you just have a large language model, you have nothing else but a chatbot, right? Not even
And
reactive assistant, it's just a chatbot, right? So it's
and
terrible.
some well
Yeah,
and some reasoning, I guess, with based on the
exactly.
model, yeah, but yes,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right, exactly.
And then in order to interact with the environment, you need something which is called tools, right? So, and tools is nothing else but piece of software that actually run, because the agents are actually not very good in mathematics, or you actually need to give them that, in algebra, right? Give them that functionality and add function that adds 2 plus 2, for example, or even better, call weather APIs and get, weather for Munich or things like that. So that's already two things, right? So it's a LLM and it's set of tools where agent has access. It has also a context, right? So context like, background information to act as a friendly assistant for company A or company B. So we can actually come into tenancy mode now. And then there are instructions, right? And instructions and goals is something that you say to agent, give me a weather for I don't know, Athens, and book flight tomorrow, right? So it will actually then go into that agentic loop. It will understand that it needs to call tool for weather, and then it will actually understand that it needs to go and call whatever Lufthansa agent or whoever Expedia agent, and then book flight for me, right? So, and this you can and thanks to that, right? So thanks to that LLM is able to reason, to say, okay, this is what I need to do. These are the tools that I need to call in order to execute that. And then it will execute them, put everything together in a nice human response, and send it back to you, right?
Love it. And
One,
so,
yeah.
follow up to that. I was watching a broadcast from the guys at White Collaborator yesterday, and they were kind of talking about, is the front end dead? And so they were saying, hey, if we're going to be interacting with agents, and do we expect that front end to be kind of built on demand based on what the user needs? And that was kind of just generally assumed to be, yeah, probably. But the second question was, which scared the bejesus out of me when they raised it, is, should we also expect parts of that to be in the back end? So in your example you gave before, in terms of, hey, obviously call up the information or call up the weather for Berlin. What if that was never, a design of your application? And so, your application was just a scheduling app. And now the person's saying, hey, should this meeting happen inside or out? Should it be this side? Well, the agent says, well, what's the temperature? And should you expect that your software, your backend, will actually just provision the tools necessary to go find that answer? So if your LLM says this is an answer, this is a information needed, should we be expecting, or that these tools, that it will go find an answer?
Yeah, I think unless Kamal wants to go first, right? So
Go for it.
I think it's going in that direction, right? So currently, when you build your agent, you say, okay, this is my agent, and these are the tools that it can use. But LLM can also write software, right? And then, for example, if you look at AWS, right? So the topic is not about AWS, but on AWS you have something which is called Agent Core, right? So it's the place for your agents to live, and there is also, agent runtime, but also there is a runtime aspect of Agent Core that is there to run software that is written by an agent, right? So if I got your question properly, Mike, so what happens is, I tell to my agent, you can access weather and you can access, whatever, this particular API. But then if it doesn't have access, what agent could do, it could actually go crazy and write a software to access another API and do something that it thinks it should do, right? Because I told him that, but since I didn't define that tool kind of like accessible to an agent will go and write the tool for itself and then deliver the data. And it is scary, right? I'm not sure how
And that
how
sounds like
that's going.
that sounds like science fiction, but it happened to me 2 days ago where I'm vibe coding away. I'm talking to a friend. I come back and my vibe code is logged into GitHub and is doing things. I'm going. Now I'm just sitting around watching because I'm curious to see what it's doing next. But it had a plan and it was out there and it was going to town. And it's oh, okay. And so if we're in the very early stages of this, and I'm already seeing it happen, and it's a matter of time before someone, that famous scene from Silicon Valley where the agent goes in and deletes all the code. I've looked at all your code; it's crap. So I deleted it for you. I saved yourself, but I deleted all your code. And the agent wasn't wrong. The code was crap, but that was running the company. So, so I do think that's a matter of time. So I do think that's definitely part of the future. And so with that, I do actually want to kind of direct the next question over to you, Kamal, on that particular topic. So if we've got these, what used to be very well-defined software packages that we would then deliver out as SaaS, now we've got these loosely defined software systems that we're delivering out. We're still delivering them out as SaaS. We still have to put some kind of a ring fence around them. We still have to be able to protect. We still need to worry about, what information these things have, what information they access, what information they send to the world around us. And so the original, originally kind of the term we used to throw around there was sandbox, but now we're going to need to put a fortress around some of these things. And so as you start to think from an infrastructure point of view, how do we, wrap up these somewhat alive little, squiggly things that we're, calling code? How do we wrap them up and deliver them in a safe way?
Yeah, I think, and that's where I think where what I meant was there's a part about building an application, and then there's a part about distributing or delivery, right? I think the delivery itself will be defined, right? It's not going to be like, um, the delivery process itself it goes far beyond just, first of all, goes far beyond the tech, because it has to go with the pricing, the marketing, the sales, and so there's a lot of aspects there. But just on the technology piece itself, there are so many moving pieces, like with respect to billing, with respect to how the operations will be done, how the multi-tenancy will be done, how the infrastructure will be set up. So I think that, what will happen, at least I don't know what will happen in 10 years from now, but I think what will happen in the next coming years is the time it will take, or enterprises will look, or the industry will get to the point where building these delivery models will become much, much cheaper. And what used to be a some of there are some of the famous quotes around what used to be, oh, building a SaaS app is, or delivery model is like spending billions of dollars, or not billion, millions of dollars, and putting an army to operate. I think that will fundamentally go away. I think the agents or the agentic software will make it easy. Autonomous systems will make it easy to build the delivery model, and that will fundamentally uh, allow businesses to not only meet or reach to the customer segments, but also uplift the requirements on the customer, what customers can expect as an experience, because the cost of delivery model has went down, or building one. I think the natural reaction to that would be, uh, customers will basically have much higher expectation in terms of what kind of experience they get overall. And which will basically means more personalization, essentially, because it's just no longer the case that you're spending uh, one fixed size thing and that trying to make it fit for all of them and spending millions and millions of dollars and putting an army to operate that thing, because it's the whole autonomous systems is going to really make it easy for you to build something in hours and essentially operate. And I don't think so that is too far. Like even I know, like OmniState, for example, we do that as one of the problems we solve, and we already have customers who are operating thousands and thousands of databases with less than one engineer on their side. And it's not like OmniState is having an engineers continuously watching or maintaining those systems. They're just handled seamlessly. And we see that customers coming in today already, that they can build their distribution channel what the way they want within a day and get it going. And so, and Omnisys just happens to be one of the system. I think that more and more systems will like this will emerge. I think that distribution will become uh, uh, you know it is a core part of the business today, but it will become the personalization on a distribution, and is the next thing that going to fundamentally going to happen, beyond of course creating an application. And once you have your application and product market fit, right, I think this is where the next thing going to be, where the the uh, bar of personalization and how enterprise software is delivered will change fundamentally.
I couldn't agree more.
Kamal, Michael, sorry, can I just ask one more question to Kamal? So, Kamal, are you talking now about fast fashion era of SaaS, right? Fast fashion SaaS. There was that famous quote from Sam Altman, right, the founder of Origin AI. Sorry, not Origin AI, the OpenAI. So basically the explanation is exactly what you said, because it will be low cost to build a product. It could be goal driven. I need it just for kind of short term, for one project or for one campaign, and I'm just gonna vibe code my own product, and I can actually do rapid production of those softwares and then build it and then forget it after I don't need it anymore. So this is what he called a fast fashion era of SaaS. And I still have, difficulties accepting that as a brave new world, right? Because I have impression that we will run into technical debt, we will have security potential issues and things like that, right? I also see risks. So I'm not sure, what is your take on this?
I think it is a function of both static guardrails and static steps with uh, uh, automation, where agents can fundamentally fit in and solve the next level thing. Let me explain that with more example. I think if you take a look at how SaaS operations was done in the past, and when we talk about SaaS operations, we talk about from the FinOps perspective, like how the cost is looking like, how are my margins looking like. You need different kind of reports. We talk about from the traditional SRE operations perspective, right? Then talk about SaaS operation. We talk about SaaS operation from the developer productivity perspective. We talk about SaaS operations from security and compliance perspective, right? And so on. But if you take at each one of these, let's say a couple of examples in each of these, maybe. Uh, how was this done before? If I have to generate, I remember I spent 12 years at AWS. If I have to build a COE and putting an RCA, no, I don't think so any engineer particularly enjoyed doing it. It was fun doing it a couple of times, but I don't think so it was fun doing it it was fun knowing, debugging. It was fun figuring out what the root cause is and fixing and addressing the core issue. I don't think so it was a fun exercising writing a great RCA. And the bar of writing a great RCA was, we know, right? It was much higher even within AWS or Amazon broadly. But if you're presenting an RCCA to a customer, you anyways have to do a good job. So imagine a system now where if something didn't go according to as expected, an application had a downtime, then can you just ask the system, hey, figure it out and generate an RCA? Is it worth it for engineers who are being paid $500,000 $1 million to spend time in doing a technical write-up, as long as the information is already there that they can put together. I think the time will be well spent by them in actually analyzing, okay, this is what the state of the fact is, and is the overall thing looks good. What we are saying to the customers, are there policies around it? And in fact that can be taught, and that can be provided certain instruction. Hey, don't use the word, for example, if you lose any data, you don't call it data loss or something, right? And just be careful about how you particularly position your RCA. But my point is, think about teaching that to an entire organization, and asking these heavily paid engineers to do that, as opposed to taking that mundane, undifferentiated task to an agent and asking it to generate an RCA. Similarly, you take a look at developer productivity, right? A lot of the organization teams are completely blind into knowing how their productivity, where the gaps are. Imagine just a system where you can not only automate it, but also can ask, hey, can you just generate my Dora metrics report? I want to figure it out, what's going on. And then if your numbers looks bad, you can go back and drill, ask the question, hey, why the time to upgrade went down? I want to understand that. Can you give me the little bit more details on that? As opposed to, asking an engineer take a week and 2 weeks to analyze something and figure it out. Now you have the information in your fingertips. Similarly, you can go and check, hey, how is the compliance monitoring going? How is my cost margins going? Generate me a cost report, right? You can get, if you have the information on your fingertips, and not when I say you, I mean every single member of the organization, depending upon the access, of course, and what access controls and what their role in the organization is. When they have the information to their access, they can do their job much faster, much better. And that is where we even talk about single person AI unicorn, and that this is what is going to enable the single person AI unicorn, right? Like to automate the internal business operations at every single level, right? And
so if I can jump in, I 100% agree with what you're saying, but I do think there's we have two AWS veterans here who grew up in incredibly well documented, incredibly well structured systems. And that's not the world that a lot of the rest of us kind of operate in. And so
I'm just so sorry, but I'm saying even for that, right? Even for the well-structured places like AWS, it could be the AI and agents will make the world so much better. And imagine the places where they haven't even put the structure yet.
And those are the ones I would want to talk about. And so if we talk about back in the world of construction, when we were building houses, we used to have the joke of you can have, you choose 2 of 3 things: fast, cheap, and good. So you can have 2 of the 3, but you can never have 3 of the 3. If you move into the IT world, I would say fast, cheap, and secure, or fast, cheap, and stable. Pick 2 of the 3, but you can never have 3. You can never have 3 of the 3. And so as we move into agentic AI, I do think what Armin, you said about OpenAI is correct. What Sam said about with OpenAI is we're in a spot where we're going to be spinning things up fast. We're going to be learning from them fast, and we're going to be turning them off. But that also means that these apps the applications themselves aren't designed with secure or stable in mind. And so the core infrastructure to support these agentic AI apps. And so my point is, as more and more of these agentic AI apps come out, and as these things are going to get a little bit or more and more autonomy, and we're going to be spinning them up faster and faster, the infrastructure that deploys and supports them has to be bulletproof. And so one of the two, we're going to have to spend a lot of time making sure one of the two is incredibly prescriptive and incredibly well built, or both sides are going to fail. And in the case of these agentic AI apps and delivery of these agentic AI apps, I don't think that tooling has mattered more than it does right now. And so going back to Kamal's statement of, it's a matter of time before this becomes table stakes, it's because it has to, because there are way too many companies out there that do not have the expertise in security and all the other things necessary to build the infrastructure to deploy these things. Gone are the days where you can expect a Helm chart or a YAML script to deliver an app, because hey, listen, I just need to deliver my app, and once the app's there, it's fine. No. You're going to deliver an app, and now your app may or may not be going to the internet, may or may not be writing its own code, may or may not be accessing customer data and then deciding what to do with it, including sending it to an LLM that's outside your organization and you just broke HIPAA. And so there are all kinds of things that your agentic autonomous app can do, and you have to put incredibly good guardrails around it. Or we're going to go incredibly slow in rolling out the AI apps. And I know for a fact no one's going to allow us to go slow. So I know customer demand will force the agentic AIs out there. And I know there's going to be a couple of spectacular failures from a security point of view, from a stability point of view, because the system that supports them is not bulletproof. And if the systems that don't support them, one of the two is going to have to be incredibly good.
And it opens a room for the new companies to arise, right? The companies that will build guardrails, right, or do pen and security testing. I already see startups on the market here in Europe that are actually building pen test and security tools for apps or software delivered by Lovable, for example, with vibe coding, right, and deployed, because you want to make sure if you're going live with that it's secure, right? One more thing, just to add on what Kamal said, because Kamal, interestingly enough, you were talking about back office automation when you were talking about deploying agents and using fast fashion SaaS, if you call it like that. I found an interesting fact or information from Gartner, where they say that 50% of the budget is being currently spent on sales and marketing automation by using AI. However, return of investment is the highest from the back office automation. And this is where I see also that, personally, but also in other companies, that back office automation really makes us work on another level.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize your point. First of all, I 100% agree with what you said, but I also want to emphasize that to your original question, that what that will mean is that the way these backend of automation will happen is not like, oh, I just gave the information to the agent and agent figured out and you do it. Because you need a level of determinism, you have to provide and build the building blocks on which the agents can, or the you have to provide these are the possible ways. Like, you cannot just let here is the infrastructure, do whatever you want and provide that, because LLM may get things right 98% of the time. That there will be 2 times it will do arbitrary nonsense things. So you have to put the guardrails into it. So you have to allow, hey, here are the good practices patterns on which you can operate on, and then allow to build have the non-deterministic aspect on top of it, or allow it to go build the creativity on top of the strong fundamentals or foundations on top. And that's where I was coming in, where in the previous world where AI was not there, we were stuck with here are the foundations, and people were trying to put together the foundation, and as their business workflow change, or the regulatory requirements change, or the compliance changes, or the AWS itself is moving so fast that their requirements, like the new technologies and new services are available that can be done better and cheaper and faster, that they have to continuously now change their own workflows on this, which required a massive shift because of the way they designed it. It was completely static. Now the world has changed because of the AI. Like, you can reimagine the whole infrastructure world or whole delivery itself as a product. You can think of it as a Lego blocks that are basic good practices, but leave the part at the top, which is which can I guess adjust or or itself figure it out the right thing as the industry itself is moving in different dimension. And so it allows you to have more flexible. It allows you to cater to different segments much better, and allows you to be more agile. I guess that's the right word, to your own business on meeting the customer needs. I think to your point, and that fundamentally balances the risk that you were pointing out at the start of the conversation, if you remember the original point, right? That fundamentally balances the risk of doing something completely arbitrary with providing yet the benefits of what the AI essentially brings in, by removing the undifferentiated and mundane task out of the equation.
Yep. Agree.
So we've reached the or near the top of the hour, and so I do kind of like finishing this off with my favorite question, because we're all playing in AI, we're all seeing the changes happen incredibly fast. What was what one trick or prompt or tool did you find this week, Armin, that's fun and you want to share?
Shall I start?
Yes, please.
Or come on?
Go for it.
So it's not a tool, right? It's a chatbot, but I was extremely impressed how well that went. So true story. I was traveling back from Berlin last Friday to Munich, right? So I was on the airport, and the flight was scheduled for 5 p.m. Shortly before 5 p.m., I hear the announcement saying, "Dear passengers from the Lufthansa flight here and there, your flight has been canceled. So please come to a transfer desk or a support desk, or uh, use our chatbot Lisa in Lufthansa app." And I was thinking, oh my God, right? I don't want to chat with anyone. And I don't know where to find the support desk now from Lufthansa because I'm at the gate, right? And I was kind of already upset, and I pull out my mobile phone, started Lufthansa app, and then Lisa immediately, so the chatbot popped up saying, "Hi, Armin, sorry that your flight was canceled. Would you like me to book you a new one?" And I said, "Well, yes." And then it said, "Let me just look at it," and then came back with 3 proposals saying, "I have following flights to Munich for you. Would you like to book one of them?" I selected the flight. Lisa went, to book it for me, booked the flight, came back saying, "Here, now you're checked in, all fine. So I wish you a safe travel." And I was so impressed, right? But it's I keep talking about AI will change, agents will keep helping us and things like that. But I kind of first time for me that I experienced as a customer such type of service provided by me by an agent, right? So if that counts, right, as a new thing that I discovered last week, Michael, that would be my top thing.
When someone is saying I would rather deal with a chatbot than a human, that's a pretty impressive and scary statement.
Yeah.
But that's exactly. But I said, at the beginning, I told it's just a chatbot, and I can actually ask questions about whatever. But this chatbot, this AI agent really helped me, and I felt I felt impressed and less angry about my flight being canceled.
Mine is also not a tool. I learned something new, I guess, about how some of the uh, AI companies are handling the privacy policies, and I think it was interesting to see that while many of them have controls on not using your data for the retraining, but they do keep around your data forever. And it was interesting and fascinating to find out that there was a, at least in US, there was a court law that these AI companies have to keep the user data forever. And but there is a way that if you explicitly go and request them to delete it, then they will delete it. And so that was interesting to find out. And that basically, like we were just having the conversation that what could be that implication of wherever you are having this conversation and putting some of the information, like even your personal conversation that you're having, uh, that they are storing all the records of everything that you are having. That felt a bit scary, in some ways. So while I agree with Michael what he said at the start, it is getting better at the 50th email. I'm also a bit scared that it is keeping all the information forever. And I don't know what that means for my grandkids, for example. Will they be able to say, "Oh, hey, this is my grandfather used to think about"? That was a thought process. And look, I can dig that out. You don't need a live Kamal. I can find it out, like, because the brain and our information and how we used to think is all captured by these things. So
Something
yeah,
like, look at those old
yeah.
people, being scared of fast fashion
Let me
SaaS, right?
let me resurrect digital Kamal out from this and talk to this Howard. Kamal as a grandfather will talk to me, right? It's interesting.
It is, and so I'll finish it out. And one of the things I'll finish it out with is I am pleasantly surprised by the progress I'm seeing in the open source versions of the LLMs and the open source versions of the tools. And so, I'm a huge fan of Cloud Code and what they've built. It's amazing. I subscribe at the highest level. I have zero problems paying the $200 a month or whatever it is. It's worth every penny to me. But that also means that who gets to have access to it? People with the higher end computers like me, people with the $200 a month. And so there was a little bit of a concern there for the growing divide. Can you afford the cursor membership? Can you afford all the rest of this? I'm seeing insanely fast progress in a lot of the open source tools out there on that topic. And so open source developer tools, open source LLMs that you can run locally, open source LLMs that can code fairly well. I mean, nowhere close to what the bigger guys can do, but fairly well, running off a fairly modest laptop. And so I'm really happy that the revolution is moving to the masses and not just the elite, but it also is just scary how fast this is going. So with that said, I want to thank both of you. I learn a lot whenever you guys talk, so I appreciate you letting me listen in. Hope everyone joins us 2 weeks from now as we continue our journey down Agentic SaaS, and we're going to get a little bit more detailed in each one of these topics as we go, because this is different. Agentic SaaS is going to change how we're doing everything, how software is built and coded beyond any doubt, but more importantly, how it's delivered, how it's interactive, and how they interact with each other. And so we're going to start getting into observability and security, and we have a lot of friends who run very large database systems, and how are agentic systems going to be interacting with all these large data systems out there. It's a really fun time to be in the industry because everything is changing. So thanks to everybody. Thank you, Armin. Thank you, Kamal. See everybody in 2 weeks.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice weekend. Bye.